And I sat and acted. I was doing things, but nothing that had to be done that time. But I was not going to let them leave after me. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast. Looking back 13 years, seeing the office, the optometrist, the man that I wanted to be, what I wanted to duplicate, and kind of getting a glimpse of that actually happening, coming to fruition almost 15 years later. Really stinking awesome. Some principles I've learned along the way that I want to share with you that hopefully make your journey more efficient and quicker than mine has been. We have the closing thought of the episode. This is the Ultimate OD Podcast. Here we go. All right, my friends, the Ultimate OD Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I want to let you know that optometry is an art. I just want to put it out there. I started off like everyone else, and you learn how to do an exam. It took me and my colleagues like 3 hours to do an exam. That's incredibly embarrassing. Even with doing every test known to man, it's ridiculous how long that took. And then you get out, you go to externships, and I was thankfully one of the more efficient people, and it still took a while, right? And then I went to Cheyenne, the Cheyenne Vision Clinic, and I worked with Martin Carroll, the person I try to emulate, the man who showed me what I want to be, the life I could have if I did things right. And that's why I started practice, honestly. And the thing that I noticed is I'd go in, I'd do the exams. They were still on paper at the time. I'd look at the chart and be like, those nerves aren't 0.3s. And he'd just look at me, smile, and say, yeah, okay. And he'd go through the exam. And literally, he'd go into the exam room, and I don't think he just kind of sit there and yuck it up with the patient across from him, and eventually do a little slit lamp, spin the dials, and be out, right? But he'd leave the office. I didn't live with him, but I stayed at his house a couple of times, and I just see the energy, the fervor, the effort he put in. And I didn't really get it at the time, right? And it was the art of optometry. Like, when you get comfortable, you know what you're doing, you have to know the big things. He would always tell me, don't miss anything big, right? I mean, easiest, most obvious thing ever, but it makes so much sense. And that's what he would do. He would look for anything big, and then he had this relationship with his patients. I mean, he'd been doing this at the time for like 20, 30 years, I think. I don't know. He'd been doing it forever in my mind. And he just had this way about him. And what I realized is I kind of have that now, right? I'm not to his level, but when I go into the exam room, you ask questions, health history, you hit the big things. But I just talk to my patients, do a refraction, do a slit lamp. Once a red eye, you have to be a little more, thorough. You're looking at things there, but there's a relationship aspect to being an optometrist. And I love that. I love how I've evolved to that point of seeing the beauty of what Marty was doing back then. And that has taken time to learn, to understand. And I hope everyone gets to that point, right? When you first come out, you are doing textbook exams and trying to check a box, right? My office grew and expanded when I started talking to the person across from me, started talking to those patients like they're humans, and we have relationships. I had my open house for the office last week, and it was awesome. I had people come that have been patients with me for the past 13 years. They've been here since year 1 or 2, and they were legitimately excited for us. We had a relationship. Literally were giving me hugs for, like, so proud of you, glad to see you do this, glad you're nailing it. It was really eye-opening, and that's awesome. That's what Marty has. And then the beauty of that is his office is cutting edge. I read a thing in Review of Optometric Business about one of the doctors at his clinic, and funny, things he said to buy that added $552K of revenue, or I don't know, some ungodly amount. 2 optoses, not 1, 2. ERG, okay, and then SLT YAG, right? Laser. What in the world is that? Those are things that, like, I guarantee 95% of optometrists reading that are like, are you kidding me? An ERG, YAG? We can't even do laser procedures in our state. And that's what he has. That's what he's built. And that's where I'm sure optometry is going to go in the next decade, right? But I love seeing what I want to build. Okay? And that's my just thought of the day that I had as I've enjoyed practicing and seeing how I've evolved as a clinician as the office has grown, and I've thought about what I'm building. And one of the things I think that has helped me get here is understanding leadership. Okay? And again, those early lessons with Marty kind of taught me this, but there's 3 key principles I think that make you a good leader. And you need to learn these now if you're an associate, if you're a student, if you are a practice owner, understand these things, okay? And they have different flavors, they have different ways of doing them, but the core and key is here. So, number 1, you have got to make sure that the patients, the staff, your employees, everyone knows that you are in this together, right? Case in point, example, some of my managers, we were short-staffed for a while. We're not really short-staffed anymore, which is awesome. We're doing very well. I'm proud of how the office is running and functioning. I think it can get better. I'm adding some things to make it better. But short-staffed, and I was not down-scheduling. We were busy out of our mind, and it was a Tuesday night. We got done at like 6 and just busy as get out, right? And a ton of optical, ton of stuff went in. Great day for me as a owner, right? We had a ton of revenue. And the staff, they don't see it like us. They don't see, oh, we had a great revenue day. They just see more work. I'm getting paid the same thing to do the work, right? And I love my staff. They will stay after. They'll get the work done. We have a great system. They sell out for the office. But you could tell they're irritated, that they're like, what is going on? We are tired. There's a lot of stress from moving the office. And my daughter had a game at 6, a soccer game. Other daughter's at 7. And I could sense there was just stress. I was not leaving. I texted my wife, I'll be there a little bit late, right? I had all the stuff I had done. I could have left at like 5:45, right? I could have got out of there. But I went, did my rounds. I always say, hey, thank you, good job today. Anything I can do to help out, right? And then I went back to my office. And I sat and acted. I was doing things, but nothing that had to be done that time. But I was not going to let them leave after me, right? Leadership. You're in this together. I was there in presence. Even though they had to do the work, they had to do all that stuff, they saw me still there too. Okay? I make a routine habit. I'm the first one into the office. Get things going. I go in on Sunday nights. Like, there's nights like tonight. I got done. My last patient was at 5. I want to get home, have dinner with my family. Like, hey, see you guys later. Get out. When I can get out, I get out early, right? And I usually get out about, anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes before my staff, right? When it's really busy, they'll stay late, but I get it. But I'm there early. I'm getting things prepped. They see what's going on. But make sure they know that you're in this with them. That it's not, hey, I'm going to make you do all the work. Yeah, I'm paying you in this. There's a mental aspect to this that they need to know that you're fighting with them. When they see you as the boss and they're a staff member, they're going to resent you. I don't care how much you're paying them. I don't care logically if it makes sense. They need to know that you have skin in the game with them. Now, again, I've taken all the risk. I've paid for the office. I've done this. I've earned, in my mind, the ability to go home. But there's times when you have to read the room. When you're going to lose your team if you don't sell out with them. if you don't put in the time that they're putting in, because they see hours on a Friday, right? If you're, say you get a patient that comes in late, right? Your last exam's at, say, 4:15, and you get done at 5, right? That patient gets there late, you're a little behind, you get the exam, you get them in the exam room, and you do stuff at 4:30. If you bring them out at like 4:50 on a Friday, you're like, here you go. Have a great weekend, guys. See you later. What are they gonna think? Right? They're gonna look at you and be like, this SOB. Why would he do this to me? Right? In those situations, give them some kind of grace. Like, I've been in there before. I've been where, it's run late, and I'm like, hey, what needs to be done? Right? Do this Monday. It's okay. Get it done Monday. Right? Or, can I help do anything while you work with this patient? Right? I need to have them know that I am right there with them. Okay? And that leads to the next principle. So you're in this together. You also have to listen. All right? They need to have a few things. One, they need to be heard. Right? Are you hearing them? We're short here. We need this. What do you need? Right? I have one-on-ones with my managers every single week. First thing I start with is, how are you doing? What do you need? What do you need me not to do? But what do you need is the thing. And again, sometimes they say something, sometimes they don't. But you have to make sure that they're heard. The other thing about that is you have to give them the space to vent. They have to get that emotion out. A lot of times, like one of my managers was really just stressed. And I knew she was stressed. I was stressed, right? There's a lot going on. But she, instead of dealing with it head on and coming to me and saying, hey, we need to talk, we need to go over this, or we need to do this, or this is burning me out, a lot of passive aggression would come out. Like, oh, I'm your receptionist, I'm your tech, I'm this. Okay, you are, right? You are a manager. You have to do these things when other people aren't here, right? If that's an issue, let me know. Let's sit down and talk about this. Or, and I literally said to her, if looks could kill, I'd be dead about 99 times right now, right? But then we sat down and I'm like, what's going on? What's up? Tell me. If you have to, like, cuss me out, say whatever, get it out now. And then we'll deal with what's going on. It just knowing that she could vent and get it out there. Staff member in the past has just been frustrated and kind of let some of her emotions come out. In the moment, I could have looked at her and said, hey, that's not how we handle things. That's not how a professional acts. But given the situation, I let her be heard. I'm like, all right. Next day, I'm like, hey, you good? I'm going to put things in place to make sure that what made you mad wasn't going to happen again. Right? But they have to have a voice. You have to give them the ability to express their emotions. A lot of times, they just want to get it out. And they want it to come at you. Right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. When you are the leader, you're the boss, all eyes are on you. Okay? You're in it with them, but they are looking to you as the leader, so you have to make sure they have the ability to give their opinions. Now, sometimes you're going to shut this down and be like, hey, that's just how it is. If you don't like it, you don't work here. Period. Right? But you do that too many times, you're going to have a staff of very few, or they're going to turn over constantly. These are things I've learned because it's happened to me. All right? Take my advice and do these things. It will make your office better. It will make them closer. And when you go through some of those battles, you go through those rocky times, you know what that does? Builds on number one. It lets them know you're in this together. Right? If they have the confidence that you have their back and you will let them express their opinion, they appreciate that. Right? That matters to them. I know it matters to me. It matters to them too. Okay? And the last thing about this, when you are going to be a leader, when you're going through change, when you're trying to build an empire, right? Trying to build that amazing office. You have got to make sure you have a vision and a mission, right? You may have it. How good are you at conveying that to them? The elevator speech, that 5 minute, 60-second thing that you can say that will get your team on board, that they know what they're fighting for. A little reminder that you place in their ear, right? My staff has went through craziness this past 6 months. Understaffed, overworked, the stress of adding a new doctor, going to a new location, change. Why have they been sticking this out with me? Because I told them this was going to happen, right? This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to build. This is why we are putting these things in place. Kind of rolled their eyes at me and did it. But when it started coming to fruition, I had believers, right? Why could I do this? Because I knew what I was building. And I talk about it every single day, what I'm going to do. Now, there's times when we got into the new office and I was talking to them about, hey, when we have multiple offices, this is what has to be done. And they looked at me like, whoa, we just got in here. Don't be talking to me about another office. And I had to mentally take a mental note that they need to know the vision. They need to know what we're doing, but they don't need to know the big 10 to 20 year plan. They want to know what's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year, right? Give them that. Be able to convey that to them. Make it your culture, right? This is what we do. This is who we are. This is how we hire and fire. Expect it. And my staff, when I have my meetings, I'm like, hey, we're going to be sharpening our sword, trying new things, always pushing the envelope. If you don't like that, this isn't the office for you, right? So when I bring in changes, when I do things, one, I know whenever I implement a change, I have to be ready to carry it out, right? I don't just go in, putting it out there and waiting for them to revolt and then running away from it. I'm all in, right? They have now accepted when I give them the change, this is what we're going to do. They may not like it, but they don't fight it. They try to embrace it. And they know if it's not going to work out, I will pivot and we'll adapt. But we're going to give it the old college try. We've done this enough. They trust me, right? Because they know we're in this together. At the end of the day, we're trying to make everyone's life better. That involves change. Change always sucks, right? They have a voice. They can be heard. So if it's not going well, because we're in this together, they know they can come to me and let me know what needs to be done. And I'm constantly giving them the vision, the dream, working towards this so they know what's happening. And then when they see the pieces fall into place, the things that I've been telling them that's going to happen, we have buy-in, right? That's leadership for you in a nutshell, right? When I look at what Marty's built at Cheyenne, 13 years later, he was talking to me about those things 13 years ago when they couldn't even do the things that they're doing now. But he had a dream, he had a vision, and he made it reality, right? I saw what I wanted. I've worked really hard to create it. And now that it's here, it's exciting, it's fun, but I've had to apply these things to make it happen. And I want you to get there quicker than I have, right? When you know what you're fighting for, you know what you're going for, it makes life easier. It makes all your decisions have direction. So don't make the mistakes I made. Make sure your staff, the patients, whoever you're working with, knows that you're in it with them, that you listen. They have a voice, they're heard, they have the power to make change if necessary. Again, they're not dictating it, but they have input. And lastly, have your vision, have your mission, and convey that nonstop. Do those things, and you'll see your creation grow. You'll see your staff sell out and fight for you, right? When you have everyone on your team going in the same direction, your workload is so much less. It's halved. It's quartered. It's just easier for you. That's what I got for you guys. We'll have more for you next week. Where has time gone? We are to the closing thought of the episode, and today I will leave you with this nugget of wisdom. They say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, I heard something that kind of is a difference in that. If you bring that horse to water and you put salt in its mouth, or you dehydrate the horse, you're darn sure it's gonna try and drink water, right? You can't make it, but if you control the outside environment, you control the conditions, you turn the levers, you can increase the likelihood that horse is gonna drink. Okay? You can apply that to a lot of different things in your business. Your patients that you want to do certain treatment, your staff that you want a certain outcome. You can bring them there. If you control the environment, if you make the situation, the outside factors, certain ways, you can make people go in the direction you want them to go. Okay? You can read that a lot of different ways. That's what manipulators do. That's how people sort of like pyramid schemes, right? Ponzi schemes, whatever you want to call them. Or that's what great coaches do to get their teams to accomplish more than they ever thought they could. To get people to push past their limits to achieve more than they thought they could, right? It's all about perspective and context. But if you're trying to achieve big things and you need people to go in a certain direction, make sure you're looking at not just what you're doing for that individual directly in front of you. What kind of environment, what kind of incentives, what kind of, rewards are you giving them, right? Find out what motivates a person and then give them what they want, period, right? Do they want a painkiller? Do they want recognition? Do they want money? Do they want, freedom? Figure out what motivates them, and you bring them to that water, and they will find a way to drink. So just a little perspective on that whole, saying that you bring a horse to water, you can't make him drink. You have more power than that statement leads you to believe. All right, that's what I have for you. Dr. Lily out.